Welcome to our IDEAcoaches virtual office hour today. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We're excited to have a great crew who is going to be sharing their expertise today. So I just want to take a little bit of time to do some introductions, and I'll be asking questions along the way. If you are joining us, feel free to put anything that you would like to share or questions that you have in the chat window as well. So I'm Amber Hefner. I'm the Executive Director of Illinois Digital Educators Alliance, and I'm excited to moderate the conversations today. Whitney?
Hi, I'm Whitney Miller. I'm the Director of Finance and Membership, and I'll be watching the chat, and feel free to drop any questions in there and I can jump in and make sure those get answered.
Thanks, Whitney. And Angel, tell us a little bit about yourself, what district you're in, and feel free to share just kind of how things are going for you right now during this remote learning time.
My name is Angel Villarreal. I am a instructional tech coach in Park Ridge Niles, District 64. I currently work at Franklin Elementary in its a K-5 setting, and it's this last month. I think we just counted down the days, 31 days. It's been one of the busiest that I've ever had as an instructional coach, and that is not a bad thing by any means. What we are doing is we're providing remote learning like everybody else, and every week we're building e-learning boards for all the different grade levels. So some grades are working together on e-learning boards. Some teachers are working independently, but kind of still working with their team. My role in all of this is I created a website for the parents where they can go see all the boards in one place for the students and parents to kind of view. As a parent, we wanted access where they can go ahead and see all of theirs. If you have 2 or 3 kids in one school, it's hard to keep track of. One teacher is posting on Google Classroom, one teacher is posting on this site or on their web page. So we wanted to put it all together. So part of that was my role in building a Google site for them to do that. And then just throughout, providing resources throughout. The first couple of weeks, it was really busy getting teachers up and running with different tools that they could use to create videos, to video conference. Now it's more of taking it to the next level with some of those teachers and kind of using some more advanced features and keeping up with all the updates. As we know, Google Meets updated late last week, early this week. So this week has been a lot of updating teachers with that. But overall, it's great experience. We're getting great feedback from parents, and we're working with them. They're giving us a lot of feedback as far as too much work, too little work. My student needs this, my student needs that, and that's communicated to the teachers, to admin, and down to the instructional tech coach, where we can help those teachers out.
Great, that's awesome, and so I am, just as everyone knows, I am taking notes as we go. So I would like to hear later, Angel can maybe go back and hear a little bit more about their Google site. Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Ryan. I'm the instructional technology specialist at Jack Hilly Middle School. It's in Oak Forest, Illinois, south suburbs. It's been crazy. Like, I had to learn Zoom on the fly because all of a sudden teachers started using it, and I read that it was not FERPA compliant. So then I was backtracking and conversing back and forth with the other tech people in my district. So now that they've got everything in order with the waiting rooms, that was like learning on the fly. That just was hard to get behind it. Other than that, it's just tech support. Like, I am the hotline. I'm Zooming with students one-to-one, talking them through how to do stuff. I'm phone calling parents on, calming them down and like giving them strategies. And like one parent I had, there was 2 parents working, their child was dyslexic and needed someone to read the stuff to him. So I just had them turn on the feature on the iPad, and then they were happy with that. But every day's different. It's on the fly.
Well said, definitely. Constantly adjusting to what is in the moment. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julie. Chris.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Johnson. I'm a actually classroom teacher. I teach 7th through 12 at Rova Junior Senior High School. We are definitely diving into the e-learning a little bit different form on the junior high and the high school level. But most of my day is spent planning with other teachers, trying to come up with cross-curricular activities for our students to do to try and keep them engaged. And then doing small group or individual activities with my own students. I've got a reoccurring daily video call with my IDEAGov students where we talk about court cases, current events, do test prep, stuff like that. This afternoon, as soon as I get done with this, my junior high kids are going to be doing an activity in Minecraft online. So just trying to keep a lot of engaging activities with the kids there.
Love to hear that, Chris. And I know that your district has taken on doing some kind of unique approaches to the remote learning. So we'll definitely dive into that. We also have Tracy Johnson joining us, but she is currently on site at her building, taking care of some chicks right now, which maybe we'll be able to see again later. So we'll have her introduce herself again when she pops back in. But I want to just kind of have some conversations in regards to remote learning. Yesterday, we had a very interesting conversation with the group that joined us in regards to making sure that we are using the same vocabulary. That was something in some districts that had been a point of contention, and that there is a considerable difference between what the state of Illinois has put out as e-learning and the opportunity to do e-learning in place of snow days, for instance, versus it's transitioned to where we are now, in that it's well beyond e-learning with the extension of time, and that the terminology that is being used right now is the remote learning. So establishing that understanding and that difference of e-learning, 1 or 2 days versus remote learning, where we are of this ongoing weeks of learning from home, away from school. So with that, I was wondering, what does your structure of your week currently right now look like? I know there's a lot of different models that are being used within districts across the state, anywhere from every day is engagement with students to 1 or 2 days being office hours type of situation. So Angel, can you share a little bit with us about what your weekly structure has been designed to look like in your district?
Mm-hmm. So in our district, we don't have a requirement as far as video conferencing or office hours. We are kind of on from 9 to 3, and whether parents are emailing us or anything, we're trying to coordinate with that. There are some teachers who are video conferencing with a small group of students. We've noticed that a lot of teachers have tried. We're pushing Google Meets and figuring out various ways as far as security goes to make sure everything's safe on that end. And what we found is that smaller groups tend to be the best, because when you do have 25 students, you don't have that mute all button that you do have in Zoom. So a lot of teachers have taken it upon themselves to meet in those 3 or 4 small groups, a little more intimate setting. They can ask those questions and feel comfortable with that. We don't have a set schedule as far as subject areas. I know I see Kevin asked the question, e-learning boards. E-learning boards, basically it's just a template for each grade level or teacher that has all their subject areas and what they need to complete for each day. Whether one of the discussions that's kind of going on right now is like grading, which I know has been talked about all over the state and with different people. But kind of, are they doing it? Are they not? And one of the things that that we decided was to put these boards out there and with resources, with links, with work, and just kind of see the engagement that's going on and change it on a weekly basis as we go. What we really, want to see, or what we really want to take into account also is, just like everybody, here as well, is there's a lot of things going on at home. So we need to make sure that our teachers, our staff understand that some students might not be completing certain things on the board, and that's okay. We might need to reach out to certain students. Hey, we haven't seen them on in a couple days. Let's reach out to them. But again, just going back to the original question, our structure is every day they have their subjects that they need to complete. The only thing that might be different is their specials. We do have art, PE, in Spanish, in music in my school, and what they do is they only have one activity per week for those specials as of right now.
Great, thank you so much. Chris, can you share with us a little bit about what the structure is at ROVA?
I can share a little bit as both a parent of an elementary student who you can kind of see in the background there doing some coding. But then also, what we're doing on the junior high and high school level. So one thing we're focusing on too, I think, is trying to be flexible with our students, knowing that they have a lot going on in their lives. And so we don't have necessarily like a set, time that every group is meeting. We post our assignments on Monday for the week. By class at the high school level, and then the students basically have the entire week to complete them, and then submit them as kind of as they can. Looking at work, sometimes you post it on Monday morning, and I've seen stuff done by noon on Monday. Kids get it done right away and move on. And then teachers are kind of setting up on kind of a small group basis when they can have face-to-face meetings with students. Tracy's got a schedule when we can put our different like in-person events on there to try to avoid conflicts with the same group of students. And so we've started doing more and more of that. And we've seen a lot more of that this week than in the past. At the junior high level, one thing we kind of added in is we're trying to do kind of a cross-curricular themed activity each week, kind of it sounds kind of like your e-learning board, so we give them a collection of activities and kind of pick and choose from that. And they're not necessarily tied to any one class necessarily, but just trying to really engage the students that way. And then individual teachers are assigning a little bit of additional work. One thing we're really trying to be conscious of too is trying to keep the number of minutes the students are working at a manageable amount and not overload them with too much stuff. And then our daughter back there is in kindergarten, and she's got ELA and math assignment each day that her teacher sends out the whole week of those on Monday. And then she's got an activity to complete each day there. And then a small choice board of additional stuff that she can do over the course of the week. And then, all the different levels, we're just looking for some kind of evidence of completion, to make sure the students are doing it. One thing we're really focusing on too is feedback, giving them feedback, reacting, responding to what they turn in, and trying to engage them as best we can rather than just putting in some number grade and hoping that's good enough.
Absolutely. I think that'll be something that we kind of want to go back to here in a little bit as well, is that feedback piece, because that's so important right now. Julie, how about you? What is the week structured like for your district?
So teachers are all over the place with what they're doing. At the junior high level, we're using Google Classroom because all the students have their devices home. They're supposed to be lessening the work. Some teachers are. We've been told that you have to do one Zoom meeting, one connect with students per week. So teachers have to do that. They want now that teachers, because I think there's a shift in how we're going to be learning, they want the teachers to have one instructional video, one short instructional video. They want them to start introducing new topics. So I'm getting that rumbling that maybe this is going to go on a lot longer than we think, or we've been told. So they're easing into introducing new content, because really we've lost a whole quarter. If you think about that, end of the third quarter and the whole fourth quarter, that's a lot of learning that students haven't been doing. And so I think they're going to start introducing new topics a little bit at a time. So now we're like all catching up, like how do you create a how-to video? How do you create that, put yourself in it, and how do you create a screencast? So we're working out different ways for doing that. At the lower grades, there are no devices at home. They're depending on parent devices, which I think, well, I have my opinion on that. But a lot of it is kids are just connecting via Seesaw and Google Classroom, depending on their grade level. So things are being pushed out that way. So we have IXL and we have for both lit and math. So those activities are being pushed out. And I love what our PE department's doing. They're pushing out one activity in the beginning of on Monday, and they put it out on Twitter, some little challenge that the kids do. There was an Easter basket hunt this past week. Some teachers are really being creative and giving their kids flexibility. Some are still stuck in that I'm teaching every day, you're going to be doing the work every day. So I think as we learn our way, navigate through this, I think more and more teachers will get on board with, hey, you know, the kids can't do all this work. Their parents can't sit on them to do work all day long. So I think that's the biggest transition.
Absolutely. Speaking from a parent perspective with a high school student, it is challenging, to say the least, to be on top of them, you know, every single period per se. Can be very overwhelming.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Are you taking attendance? So we're not doing that now. Like, how is attendance being taken at other buildings?
Yeah, so from my son's district, he gets a Google form every day. He has to sign in to that Google form on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yep. So Tracy, thanks for popping back in. If you hear little chicks in the background, we'll get a little chuckle out of that. But if you could just kind of share who you are, and then kind of the question on hand right now is, what does the design of the week look like, which Chris kind of covered for your district. I would love to hear from your perspective, kind of that transition, because I know you guys did some adjusting to that as well. So tell us who you are and a little bit about that transition from those very targeted e-learning days to that bigger, broader picture of remote learning.
Okay, so I'm Tracy Johnson. I teach half-time English, and I am also our instructional coach. And we started out, and we were going to do, like, we have our own term for it, but I'll just say hardcore. We were going to do hardcore, very structured, basically stick to the same structure that the day was, and you know, you could have your students during that time and that time only, but the students would be working all day. And we then really quickly decided not to do that, and we went to nothing at all, and it was all optional stuff. And then we went from that into, okay, now we need to make this more real than it is, but not what we planned before, because we realized that what we planned before with everyone's home situations wasn't going to work out very well. So then we kind of, it was actually kind of nice we did it that way, because it ended up with oh, they're escaping, sorry, with a happy medium, and I feel like that kind of helps everybody. So we have, everybody's very understanding with the schedule, but at the same time, they know how, they understand that it needs to be more real than just like a quick social emotional check-in. And so I really, it kind of all happened by mistake, but I think that us starting out so structured and then going completely away from it, we've now found a really good middle ground.
And I love that, you know, we talk a lot about the importance of iterating in education, but yet, you know, we are always like to Julie's point, right? We're always so very focused on the learning that needs to be occurring on a daily basis. And, you know, if there's ever one common issue that every educator in every district has, it's time. You know, so sometimes that iteration piece doesn't get to happen because you're just so focused on what you need to get through that, you know, you don't have the time to iterate and make those changes. So I love that your district, Tracy and Chris, have taken that opportunity during this time to really focus on this isn't going as well as we had planned. We need to take a look at that, and we need to do it differently.
And I think we've been hosting weekly meetings to talk about that, and that's been really helpful. And our principal has been collecting data from the kids. So the kids tell us how much they've worked, what their favorite thing is, what they're struggling with. And then we can all look at that data and decide, do we need to keep moving forward in the way we're doing? What do we need to change? And a lot of times it's more individual changes need to be made, but if we can come together as a group and talk about, okay, well, you know, this kid is having a problem with the way I do my assignments, how is everyone else doing it? And that weekly meeting plus the idea that no one knows how to do this right. And so if you try something and it fails, that's okay. And it's okay to admit it. And to me, I feel like it's taken that growth mindset that we push, and it's made everyone on the staff feel that way instead of just a few. Everyone's willing to take risks now, knowing that there's really no right way to do this.
That really is a good point of that, you know, again, that's a culture I think we all want to see in education, that growth mindset, that, you know, fail forward approach, but it's risky, you know, to take in a normal situation, but we've all been forced into this situation where we have to have that growth mindset. Just like right now, I have no idea how the Facebook Live is going. You know, so it may utterly fail, and we may never able to do this again, but we got to try it, right? You know, so stepping out of our comfort zones is something that I think every educator is doing right now, and kudos for trying those new things despite the difficulty in doing that. So that's awesome. There is some conversations going on kind of right now in the chat window, again, in regards to the attendance piece that Julie asked about. So Julie said her district is not currently taking attendance. Mia shared that the students in her district, 3 through 8, turn in an attendance assignment on Google Classroom. Angel, can you share, is your district doing anything in regards to attendance?
Yeah, we're doing something similar to Mia. We have a link on our remote learning site that that we created, and in there we ask that they sign in every day. We also had teachers put that link into their e-learning boards, their schedule for the week with their work, and that's what they're doing, and that's going to administration. And then we are, that gets sent to us, or if we see that certain students aren't, that'll be sent to us as well, and teachers can individually address those with those students and those parents. I'd like to just go back on one more thing, and I think one of the benefits, and we talked about reflection and not being afraid to try new things. I think, you know, as a coach, I've seen my teachers try new things. It doesn't work, so they try something else, or they go back to it and fix it. And, you know, as a coach in the school, that's one of the things that I always pushing for teachers. And I think now it's forcing their hand to try some of these tools, to try some of these, you know, I'm not sure when we're going to return, but when we do, like for me, I'm really looking forward to touching base with those teachers that I never had the opportunity, or were just, I wouldn't say scared, but just didn't have the time to put in and learn these new tools. But now on the fly, they are learning, they're trying, and going back, I think it's definitely gonna be a big benefit once we get back into our schools and use some of these tools for the benefit of them and the students.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's so true. And what I love is, you know, really thinking about you, Angel, as a coach, and that is your role. But as you know, Chris and Tracy and I have actually talked about this before. You know, I was an athletic coach. You know, Chris and Tracy both have coached sports as well. And if you take Like that literally is you as an athletic coach, right? You work on developing a skill, you know, and you keep working with the student until they get that skill, you know, shooting, whatever that might be. And really taking that, how awesome is that you're getting to experience that as an instructional coach in the same way with your teachers, and how incredible, how empowering can that be if your teachers are now taking that coaching concept into what they're also doing with their students.
Yes, definitely.
Well, that was something actually Tracy and I were kind of talking about this morning was, you know, how cool is it going to be to see what education looks like next year after everyone has been forced into this huge uncomfortable place and had to try all these new things. You know, how are we going to evolve as educators? What's education look like next year, and how much better will it be for our students because we've been forced into this setting? I'm excited to see what that's going to be like.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think, you know, and what I hear so many people talking, like it's just exciting and inspiring to be in these sessions and hearing the people that are joining talk about that, you know, the growth that they're seeing in themselves, but also in the educators that they work with, you know, and what impact is that going to have on, you know, on our students now in this moment, but moving forward as well.
And I think that, oh, sorry, Mia. Go ahead, Mia.
I have a question that I wanted to kind of get like a wide variety of feedback on, because it's more something I've been keeping up with in current events, and I've only seen one news article about this so far, but the news article was about a parent who was deliberately removing their child from online learning because of the way it was structured. And I know we've already been kind of talking about, you know, in these office hours, equity and access, but I'm wondering if that's something people are thinking about, if parents are going to deliberately remove their children from remote learning, and how, as instructional coaches or any position, we should respond to that. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there and get a wide variety of takes on it. Thank you so much.
I think that a big part of that is then seeking out the why to that. So I've seen some people say, my student already, or you know, my son or daughter already had issues in the classroom, and now you're asking them in the video chat, which is making them extremely more uncomfortable. And so if that's the issue, then we as teachers and coaches need to be finding other solutions. If it's a time thing and the time commitment is too big, we need to figure out how we can make that better. I think we have to get to the why of what's making them angry and see if we can troubleshoot that problem so that it's no longer a problem.
That's a great point, Tracy. Really, I mean, yeah, taking that to, you know, if a student isn't doing their homework, we're asking the why, right? Why aren't they doing their homework? So that is so important, and I don't think we can lose sight of that. What is the why? Why is that parent making that choice? What is the concern, and what can be used to adapt and help in that situation?
And what works for one student may only like Zooms and video calls, where another student wants the complete opposite, just like in the classroom.
That's why I love the choice board options that I'm hearing a lot of educators using. Thoughts, Julie?
I like the idea that parents have choice. You know, if they don't have access, as districts, we should be printing them up some kind of activity, or giving them a book, or giving them some kind of resource that they can use that does not require technology. My grandkids in Florida, so they don't have technology that goes home with them. So each Friday they go in and they're in a line in the car, and the people are masked up, and they hand them one packet and can't turn in the work from the previous week. That's working for them. I think the second and third week they got better at lessening the amount of work, because my poor daughter-in-law was like, ah! You know, it was just 3 kids all over the place with different assignments and craziness. And I think it was settling in. I think the longer we do this, the better we'll get at it. And I think parents should have a choice as to I know sometimes when I first started doing these Zoom meetings, they made me very anxious and crazy and, you know, like, what do I look like and my hair, but it's just that whole persona of things. And as I'm doing it more, I'm getting used to it. But if a kid doesn't want to do that, pick up the phone and call them. You know, and then there's kids that don't like phone calls, you know, shoot them an email, like just try and write them a letter and send it. There've been teachers who have been sending out snail mail to kids, and they are so happy to just receive some kind of connection. So you just got to find the connection that's going to work for that child.
That's a great point. Absolutely. Absolutely. Differentiating for parents and families in this situation is as important as differentiating for the students themselves.
And I think getting that feedback from the parents is very key. We don't know what's going on at home. I think you know, the mindset of a teacher and everybody in the school might look a little bit different now, because what's going to happen is you don't know why that student is not being able to do the work. In my district, K2 doesn't have devices. 3 through 8 have a Chromebook. So what can we do when we provide work and they're not able to log on to Seesaw, or they're not able to log on to a certain tool because mom and dad are working from home and that's the only device that they have to work from? So I think, you know, along with the learning from teachers and everything, the mindset is a little bit different. We talk about those teachers that love to have that control and say, like, this is the way it's going to be. That mindset might need to change a little bit, because we don't know what kind of things are going on at home. In some instances, mom and dad maybe aren't working and can provide, you know, a lot of time for that. You know, my wife and I are both working. She's a social worker, a school social worker. So we're in meetings, she's in IP meetings, and, you know, so we're not able to get to certain things throughout the day that, you know, was assigned to my son. You know, but it's important to communicate that to his teachers. And again, it's important for parents to communicate it with us. As far as like parents pulling out students, that's another communication piece with the parent. It might not be the way you set it up, might not be working for them, but you can definitely work with that parent and say, okay, let's complete the same objectives, but let's do it this way. If this way works better for you and your family, you know, at least they're getting those objectives done. It might look differently, but in the end, the student is learning that objective.
Absolutely. Kind of that whole process of looking at being focused on, you know, you're using the term objective. I like to use the term skill set, right? What is the skill, you know, that you're trying to facilitate with the student? And I think that's going to really focus you on what direction you need to go.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate everyone's ideas, because I was like, wow, this is just in a news article, but depending on how long remote learning takes place, this might be a possibility. We have to think about not just parents, you know, not having equitable access, but if parents decide we are, due to the needs of our family, just not going to do it anymore. So thank you so much, everyone. I have a long list of notes now of great ideas I'm going to hang on to should this scenario arise in my district.
Good. I'm glad we could help. And kind of going in that same strand, I guess, one of the things that kind of everybody happened to mention was the communication piece. So I was just wondering if everyone could share, how are you communicating with parents? What does that look like for your district right now? Is the expectation on teachers? Is the expectation on administration? Are you as instructional coaches doing that communication piece? What resources are you using? So just, I think it is important. That's a great question that Mia asked, but let's kind of shift it to some of the tools, you know, that are being used as well, and where that responsibility lies. Tracy, you want to start?
So we do, you know, the traditional ways, obviously, yes, like, you know, our alert messages and email, but I think the biggest one is social media. So like right now, the reason that I have to be in and out is because we are getting ready to, we're drafting something for our parents about all the things for seniors. And we're a little late in the game because somehow people got wind of some of our ideas and some rumors are starting to fly, and we're getting lots of emails about what's happening. And so I had just, when I stepped out earlier, I said, we've got to get on top of this now. They need to hear from us, and not just on an individual basis where we're responding to one person and then they're telling 5 people and it's kind of exploding that way. We need a universal message out. So, so if you want to look at our Facebook later, you'll see an example of that. But that's the idea, is just getting like the one voice out ahead of, instead of waiting to respond. So proactive instead of reactive, I guess, is my goal with it.
Absolutely. And on that social media page, that was one of the things that we're kind of talking about, just our staff as well, of what could we model in regards to helping educators see what options there are of getting that message out. So here today on Facebook Live, like, you know, is that something that could be a viable way of communicating, you know, with families, with parents? Chris, how about you, from a teacher's perspective, what are some of the tools you're using to communicate with parents?
Well, and one thing I think that is important, my email, I swear I've gotten more emails in this time off than in my time in the classroom. And I imagine the same is happening with students and parents. And so like getting that message out to them is really important, but making sure that there aren't 10 messages of the same thing going out is another part. So one thing our junior high staff has been working really hard to is communicating to parents, you know, be it through email or, you know, something on Google Classroom or something like that, trying to get it from one voice or one person, maybe they can hit the most people, and then follow up with a couple of other communications, but not have every teacher bombard parents with basically the same message or send out the same information, because, you know, it'll get lost. And so I think that's important. A really important piece of it is trying to just make that balance between talking to the parents, but then overloading them. And so a lot of that is kind of teamwork and trying to figure out who are those couple of people who can communicate with them. For example, I don't see a huge percentage of our junior high students. I'm not a great choice then to communicate with a lot of parents, because I don't have good lines of communication with a lot of them, where, you know, a teacher who maybe sees every single 7th grader on a regular basis might be a better like point person for sending out a class-wide or grade-wide email. So we're kind of doing that. We also have a list that we're keeping track of who's communicated with students, who's like what teachers actually communicated with them and in what way. So we're making sure also we don't miss someone, you know, that I assume someone else is talking to him or her and someone else assumes that, you know, it's someone else. So like we've got a spreadsheet where basically we're just keeping track who's communicated with them, be it they've turned in an assignment, we've commented on their work, we've sent an email. So I think that's a big part of it too.
I like that idea, and I like the strategy that you were talking about as well, of kind of having the one point person be the one, you know, that is sending out that information. Part of what was brought up yesterday in our previous session was the opportunities for teachers to be collaborating together right now in ways that, again, time has not allowed them previously. So I do love that idea that you were also talking about earlier, is, you know, looking at those larger projects, you know, where all of the teachers are involved in a project and are having input into what the students are doing, but also carrying that over into the communication piece. So great suggestions, Chris.
I was gonna jump in with that too real quick. Chris, that made me think of something. This is Whitney. How neat would it be to have that, you know, if we establish that organization, to carry that into the classroom when we ever do return. When I was in a small district, we all had our loosely assigned kids that we were supposed to, you know, check in, make sure we call them out in the hallway, like, hey, Joe, glad you're here, or some, you know, something. And it felt very, it'd be nice to have that tool to say, like on our spreadsheet, you know, I've checked in with Joe's mom this week or something like that. And we carried that kind of communication and organization and oversight into the classroom when we return.
Great point, Whitney. It reminds me of the days when I was working on pre-RTI. It was actually called Flex at that time. And it was very much that idea of, and it was a middle school, and I think that's kind of the middle school philosophy as well, you know, but really maintaining that structure of who has contacted the student, who has been communicating with them. And, you know, I think SEL has been such a huge piece to making sure that we're addressing that, not only prior to our remote learning time, but especially during the remote learning time as well. So definitely important, but one of those things, to Whitney's point, we hope to see that continue post-remote learning. Julie, did you have thoughts to share?
I love that idea. We have a set study skills, and I don't think anyone ever thought about it. Say we have a spreadsheet for each grade level, and teachers are putting in kids they have not heard from, whether it be via email or checking in or turning in assignments. So they've got this list of kids, and they're all adding in and checking off like who hasn't seen them. And some kids are sporadic. They pick and choose the teachers they respond to. Some kids are, you know, talking to other teachers, and some kids it's crickets. So I like the idea of maybe having that study skills, which is a smaller group of kids, having them check in. I like that idea, and I'm writing all these notes down. But as far as communication, that's how they're finding the kids who are missing and off the grid, is by doing those spreadsheets and then keeping track, and then teachers volunteer to call students. And they'll say, I'll call home on this one, I'll call home, because we're like, they haven't responded to emails, they haven't responded to Google Classroom assignments. We need to call home and make sure everything's okay, and make sure that kids are doing okay. Because I think a lot of kids are becoming nannies in daycare at the middle school level, especially because there is no one to take care of the little ones, and their parents are nurses and first responders and things like that, so they have to go to work. So I think a lot of our kids have dual responsibilities, and family comes first, and I agree with that. I think they should be in their family, but we need to check in and make sure they're okay. So I like that idea of that study skills. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think kind of going off that, one of the big changes we made going from, I guess, kind of our initial thought on how we're going to do this to the way we're doing it now is that flexibility, because they do have a lot they're juggling. And I think it's really important for us to always remember that too. Like they're not focused on my class for the hour and a half that I expected to have them under the old system. And we need to give them that flexibility to, you know, take care of their siblings, to, you know, help be a part of their family. That, I mean, everyone's going through a huge change right now. And if we just, you know, expected business as usual, like, we're not going to get good results. It's not being a responsible, you know, leader for our children and our students. So that flexibility is so important that we have.
Absolutely. Angel, how about you? Oh, you have little ones joining you. Explain to me to get her perspective. Hi, sweetheart.
Hey. Say hi. Wait, hi. Oh, she's a little camera shy. Yeah, so, you know, and just going back to that conversation, what Chris was just saying, perfect example right here. You know, the balance, we need to find that balance in that mindset that I said before, the teachers. With that, as far as communication in my district, you know, we do have our administrators who email, you know, the school parent email and get communication out that way. Teachers are emailing parents, they have their parent groups, and then they're communicating with their kids through several tools. We have Seesaw, we have Classroom. Some teachers who have not used some of those tools before have and are very good with their Google Drive. They've created a Google Doc where the student can just drop in questions, and they kind of go through and check those as they go, and they can answer them on the fly there. You know, you know, and I think I mentioned it before in a previous chat that we had, we, about a month before this all began, we began a pilot with Schoology, and we have Schoology for all teachers, but we started with a pilot. They have a great messaging feature in it, so some teachers are messaging that way. You know, be great if we would have started it way before that, but it's just the timing. And but one of the ways we communicate with parents that I do personally is through a Google site that I created. And like I said before, you know, some parents have 2 or 3 kids at the school. So for them to keep track of where all the work is coming from, you know, they can easily go to our remote learning site, click on the grade level, click on the teacher, or and just kind of see what that work looks like. You know, we have run into some issues where the students go, well, I don't have any work today. I already completed it. You know, well, the parent can easily go to this remote learning site and can check and see what's going on, see what's required. There's also every morning, my principal or vice principal create a video, a morning announcement video. So there are morning announcements going on every day. And I go ahead every morning before 9 o'clock and I'll go ahead and post that video to the site. It takes about 2 minutes and we post it to the site and the students have the morning announcement. They say the pledge and they have that communication piece there. And there's also a list of emails of who to communicate with certain issues within the district. If you're having an issue with the Chromebook and you need to get in charge with the tech department, or if you're having trouble accessing the website. So I do get emails from parents. Some parents are having trouble getting Hangouts working on their computer or something like that. So I'll help them out with that. But there's various communication pieces that go. It's not very centralized in one place. But right now it's working and parents are hearing back from us in a timely fashion. And yeah, that's what we're doing.
I like it. Again, you go back to, you know, you are trying to keep everything in kind of that Google site, you know, that you have created, you know, so if nothing else, they know they can go to that Google site, that one place, and find where they need to go to next. So I do think that that's helpful as well. So we're about 7 minutes left, and what I want to finish up with is just your words of advice or your words of inspiration that you would give to educators in this time right now. Now, these words of advice may look very different 3 weeks after we've gotten 3 more weeks in of this, but for where we are right now, what piece of advice would you share out in regards to kind of, you know, how things have gone, where you kind of think things are going, but your inspiration that you would share at this point?
I'll go first. Sorry. We're having a unique opportunity to test things out and fail, and nobody's going to care that you failed. They're going to say you tried. You don't have that opportunity during the whole school year, and year after year, you've got all these mandates and things you have to do, and everyone's looking to everyone else like, how did you do it? What did you do? How are you doing? This didn't work, this worked. This is such a unique time in history as a teacher that we have right now. Like when they called off school, my heart was in my throat, because that to me meant this was bad. This was going to be hard. But as I'm moving through it, I'm seeing teachers try things they've never tried before. This is awesome. The first person to do Zoom is someone who will never do any tech. And she's out there doing Zooms with her students. So I'm like, this is showing, giving teachers the opportunity to grow as professionals, and just use that this time as that opportunity for growth. That's my advice. So
Absolutely, Julie, love it. Thank you. Tracy?
So I do think my advice is that sometimes it might feel like you're teaching in a void, and that even if students are doing the work, that it's not as meaningful as it was when you were in the classroom with them. I get the opportunity to deliver lunch every day, so I get to talk to some students. And I asked one student what her favorite thing about learning was, and it was her advanced math class. Yes, I said that. It was her advanced math class. Because she said she just really liked the normalcy of it, and, you know, being able to sit down and work through the problems and have that normal feeling. And, you know, we've come to find out in the last couple of weeks that some hard stuff has been going on in her household. And so for her, that advanced math is her anchor. And so you may not know it, and a kid may never tell you, but those assignments you're putting out might be the thing that the kid is holding on to in their day. And I think that's important to remember.
It's a great point, Tracy. Very great point.
Mm-hmm.
Kids do love structure, and their structure has been blown up. So bringing a little bit of that structure back right now probably is a very calming opportunity for those students to have. Angel?
Yeah. I know in what Julie said, what Tracy said, that all that I agree 100%. It's one thing to add to that is, teachers, we're in quarantine and we're isolated and we're this, but what I've seen from my teachers and the teams and them working together and on Hangouts and everything, I think knowing that you're not alone and we're all working this together, we've all seen it in our schools, and we can all kind of pick out those kind of staff members that are like, I got this, I'm doing this on my own when they're in the school. But now that we're all out of school and this is all new to us, this is all different, I see staff members leaning on each other and asking, what are you doing? Let's work on this together. Let's provide this for our students. So I think word of advice, like lean on your colleagues. We're all in this together. We all don't have the answers, and when we come together, we could find a solution or maybe something that works.
So valuable, yes, and you very much established exactly what we're hoping comes out of the IDEAcoaches sessions as well, Angel. So thank you, Chris.
Well, I think that and I agree with everyone on this, but this is a great time for us to be brave in our teaching and try something that's different and new, because I think we all agree, you can't fail in a setting like this when everything is so different and so turned upside down. If you're trying your best for your students and your focus and your priority is on the students themselves, then you're doing all you can do, and that's what we just need to focus on is try, and if it works, keep doing it, and if it doesn't work, try something else. And don't be afraid to try something new, because it's all new for everyone, and don't be afraid for it not working, because it probably won't work all the time, and that's okay too. And as long as we're putting our students first and we're giving them our best, then that's all we can do.
Absolutely. Great advice, and you're going to probably see these pieces of advice come up on social media here in the next day or so. Just kind of a way for us to take what all of you on the front lines are experiencing and sharing and help push that story to others. So thank you so much for sharing not only that advice, but for sharing the last hour today with us as well. What's really exciting is we're getting so many people watching these videos throughout the day and throughout the weeks. So our recordings are hitting a lot of people. So your words are going to get out there and are going to empower and inspire others. So thank you so much. Whitney did put the link in for the PDH. So please feel free to make sure that you fill that link out, that you get a professional development hour for your time today. And as always, if there's anything that you need, please make sure that you reach out to us. We'll do our best to find a way to get you that resource, or even schedule a webinar that meets your needs. So thanks again to everybody. We greatly appreciate it. And thanks for being our test run today on Facebook Live as well.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye. Oh, bye. I was just writing down the notes.
Oh, you're fine, Julie. I'm trying to figure out how to end Facebook Live, so all good.
Bye. Do you want me to go ahead and close out the meeting?
Yep.